How evil hides, masks morality and the role of the bystander. Evil rarely shows its true face. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It doesn't appear as a monster but as a mask. It disguises itself as necessity, as duty, as order. It wraps itself in morality, and that is precisely what makes it so hard to detect. Hannah Arendt wrote about Adolf Eichmann. It was as if one were looking at a void. There was no wicked will, only thoughtlessness. Thoughtlessness is not the absence of thought. It is thinking without depth, without responsibility, without relation to others. Evil thrives where people stop asking questions. Evil in the collective. No one wants to be evil alone, but in a group, many things become easier. Guilt is shared, responsibility is diluted. Conscience is silenced when many join in. Milgram showed that people are willing to inflict pain on others when authority tells them to. Even more disturbing, how many simply watch and say nothing. Spectators, bystanders, the silent majority, evil feeds on their silence. Albert Camus said, "The greatest crime is not murder, but silence about it." The collective gives us comfort, but robs us of responsibility. We call it we instead of I, but we doesn't think. It chants slogans. It obeys. It justifies itself through numbers. Totalitarian systems thrive on participation, on the belief that the individual is powerless. But that's a lie. No system functions without people, without voices, without hands, without those who look away. Moral evil. Many who do evil believe they are doing good. That's what makes them so dangerous. The religious fanatic who kills to save souls. The revolutionary who murders in the name of equality. The technocrat who reduces people to numbers to optimize society. Evil doesn't need a face of hate. A clear conscience is enough. Camus warned, "Man does not kill out of hatred, but for an idea." When morality becomes a tool of violence, evil becomes respectable. The self-styled hero no longer asks about the victims. They're factored in, as part of the calculation, as a cost for the future. This is where horror begins, not with chaos, but with a plan, with vision, which is colder than any crime of passion. History is full of such visions, crusades, purges, re-education camps, always in the name of good, always costing lives, the banality of evil. It's easy to condemn evil in history. It's harder to recognize it in daily life, in language, in jokes, in ironic distance, when violence becomes laughable, when dehumanization is normalized, when collateral damage is just a word. Peter Sloterdijk calls this modern cynicism. We know something's wrong, but we play along, out of comfort, fatigue, or fear of seeming naive. Irony can be a shield, but also a sedative. Those who only smirk at suffering stop feeling it. That's the first step to indifference. Words like illegal, burden, isolated case, they prepare evil. Not the deed itself, but its permission. Structural evil. Not everyone who does harm wants to. Some are shaped to, by systems, by rules, by expectation. Michel Foucault wrote of power that doesn't just prohibit, but normalizes. Deviate, and you're punished. Fit in, and you're rewarded. In these structures, evil becomes productive. It becomes invisible. It becomes the management of life. Those who decide who gets access, who gets rights, who is seen, wield power, and sometimes violence. Neoliberalism functions this way, not through force, but optimization. People must perform. Failures are blamed on the individual. Those in need become disruptions. In that logic, the weak vanish, not through violence, but through neglect. And that, too, is a form of evil. The language of evil. Language is never neutral. It creates reality. Those who dehumanize in speech prepare real violence. Numbers instead of names, dignity lost. Orwell wrote, "When thought becomes corrupt, language becomes corrupt. And when language becomes corrupt, clear thought becomes impossible." Language can kill. Not directly, but it clears the path, it draws the lines, it creates the us versus them, and that is where violence begins. Responsibility in small things. What can we do? Not be heroes, but stay awake. Simone Weil said, "Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. Look where others turn away. Ask where others nod. Stand up when it's inconvenient. Evil is not a force of nature. It needs consent or silence. That's our chance. We don't need to scream, but we must not stay silent. We don't have to change everything, but we must not accept everything. We don't need to be perfect, but we do need to be awake." Perhaps, in the end, resisting evil does not require grandeur, not heroism, but presence. Presence in language, presence in attention, presence in the face of fading truths. Evil rarely arrives with horns and fire. More often, it walks in quietly, through routine, through orders, through the shrug of a shoulder. That's why it matters to think, to ask, to look. Philosophy doesn't solve this, but it reminds us where we still have a choice, and maybe that's enough. Not to be saints, but to remain awake, even when the world prefers to sleep.
Thank you for being here. I heard something. I have to leave quickly. See you.